I'm Julie Alexandria.
And I'm Jennifer Mercedes.
Between the two of us, we have over 2 decades of experience working in professional sports.
We're telling the stories of women who are at the top of their game in sports and business.
Welcome
to the Locker Room.
Welcome to another episode of Locker Room Talk. I'm Julie Alexandria here with Jennifer Mercedes. And our guest today, we like to refer to her as kind of the first lady of baseball broadcasts, having worked as part of the team covering Sunday Night Baseball for ESPN. She's a former collegiate 4-time first All-American, 2-time Olympic medalist, and professional all-star softball outfielder. Most recently, she became the first female World Series analyst on a national broadcast platform and was also part of the NBC broadcast team covering the Tokyo Olympics. Please welcome to the Locker Room, Miss Jessica Mendoza. So good to have you here.
Oh, so good to be here. Are you kidding me? Like a bunch of girls kicking it, getting to talk sports. I love it.
We're so happy to have you. All right, let's get it kicked off. Jessica, you have done so much and broken so many glass ceilings. You also give back and you're a mom on top of it all. What would you say, looking back or even looking forward, what is the highlight of your career or your proudest moment?
Oh, wow. I'm kicking off of that. Okay. Well, I mean, it's by far, as far as just career-wise, for sure winning an Olympic gold medal. And I know that sounds cliche, but, after just covering the Olympics and just re-experiencing that entire process, the pressure of like one moment, one game can dictate, the color of your medal or if you get one at all. And when you spend a lifetime working towards something, it's pretty magical just to be able to compete. But then to have that gold medal, to me, the Olympic Games are by far above and beyond any other sporting event you can possibly, whether watch, be a part of. There's nothing like it. So winning gold at the Olympics is it's on its own place of space.
Now, a day in the life of Jessica Mendoza, what does that look like?
Day in the life, it varies. I mean, honestly, Jennifer, it's all over the place because I'm a mom. And I wear a lot of different hats. Depends on the day of the week or what time of year. I could be coaching my son's little league team, and we're out there now. It's football season, so we have football practice today. But yeah, dropping the kids off at school and then like being able to, whether it's board meetings, sports center hits, on different podcasts or being, organizing kind of different, parts of, just life, like whether you're meeting with like financial advisors or doctor's appointments, all the things. And now that school has started again, I think anyone can relate to this is like the schedule part. It actually kills me because then everything is like scheduled to a T. Like you've got all these practices and times, and then I'm trying to get my own studying done for MLB games, and now we're heading into postseason here pretty soon. So preparing and getting ready for all that.
Yeah, let's talk about MLB for a moment. It seems like now more than ever, there's so much more news surrounding MLB in the game, whether it's the evolution of the game from robo-umps to the changing of the players themselves to diversity to issues dealing with equality and certain transgressions. Do you feel at all a responsibility to have to speak to those things publicly? And on the other side of that, how do you see the future of MLB?
Wow. I mean, I don't feel a responsibility. I mean, I will always talk about the sport, give my opinion and how I feel. And like anything, I think we should always be evolving and changing. I think anytime we say, oh, we're good, like we're gonna stay right here, I don't think that is something that will ever have success in the long run if we're not continuing to learn and better ourselves. And I think Major League Baseball is an example of that, like just constantly always thinking about ways that you can improve, whether it's changing kind of the basics of the game or adding more technology that's already available in there to help just make it more fair or viewer friendly or, you name the list, because there's a ton of changes that baseball can be doing and has been told and is probably trying to, whether it's a minor league level or even implementing more in the major league level. As far as the future of Major League Baseball, I think with this year's CBA and Players Association, it's been all the talk this off season is, will we even have a season next year? And there's a chance we might not. I'd love to positively say that they're going to figure things out and come to an agreement. But as we saw in even the pandemic year last year, and the amount of delay to begin the season based on just agreement, from the Players Association and Major League Baseball and the owners of how they would even go about doing this, I think we all learned that they are really far apart right now. So can they close that gap within this offseason? I'd love to optimistically say yes. But as far as the immediate future, I mean, honestly, Julie, there's a chance that we might not see baseball in the immediate future unless we can figure out a way to combine and get along and come to some sort of understanding on rules.
Gosh, isn't that the the phrase that we all need to live by, even just outside of baseball? Let's just all come together and compromise on so many things. But Jessica, you are proof that progress is being made. You have accomplished so much within MLB. Do you feel that there are still hurdles and issues that need to be addressed in order for the sport to evolve and be relevant?
Oh, absolutely. I think, just relating to a broader audience. And I think baseball is really trying to do that. They've made a huge effort to reach more women, and whether that's the grassroots level and their play ball initiative that's not just being driven towards young boys, but for young girls to get out, be active, just pick up a ball and start playing. And with that, you grow your audience of these young girls that feel a tie towards sports in general, but also Major League Baseball. I think that though the representation and with this audience alone of just reaching more of a Hispanic audience, I think, you look at the majority of players and so many are Hispanic players, but it's not even just, oh, I can relate to Javier Baez or Fernando Tatis Jr., but who are the voices and who are the people that are bringing us these stories and understanding of the backgrounds of what being a Latino means and the countries that you're from and how very, instead of being some wide category, what's it like to be a Venezuelan ball player versus Cuban versus, growing up in the US, but raised by, two Hispanic parents from two different countries. Like there's so many different storylines within there. And I feel like we've not even, we're at the tip of the iceberg of the stories and the amazing things that are in baseball that we've yet to really even tell.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think also speaking to that as far as the Latino population and that audience, we talked right before we started how important your job has been and your role in the forefront for women, but also specifically Latinas in the industry. For us, for Julie and I, when we first saw you and saw what you were doing, it meant a lot. It means a lot. So what does it mean to you to hear that? And I know I'm not the only one. I know we're not the only ones who feel that way.
I think it's important for us to have a sisterhood. I mean, honestly, like for there to be this feeling of like you're not alone, and it's amazing. And I mean, honestly, I feel like we're family within this space, having just met because, and I know Jennifer, before we got on, you mentioned Alana Rizzo. Like when I see a lot of these women, there's an instant Marley Rivera, who also works at ESPN. You just feel this openness to be able to talk about real things, help each other, whether it's other women in the industry, whether it's other Hispanics within the industry. It's just an understanding of being a minority and being one of few, and knowing that like, hey, I'm here to help because I want there to be more of us. And I love the idea of the day where we don't even notice female, male, Hispanic, brown, nothing. Like it's just people doing their job and killing it at what they're doing. And until we get to that point, it's like, okay, how do we bring more women along? How do we understand? And it's by like going up to each other and just being like, I got you. What do you need help with? Like, hey, you need more information on this team. Do you want to know how to do a 30-second hit or instant analysis on this? Like, let's talk, communicate. And my number's here. You can always reach out, so we can literally be there to help each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly why Jen and I created this show. Jen and I both started, I won't say the year, but we both started with the New York Mets. And we were both coming up at the same time. And I mean, I would literally be in the dugout and I would look around pregame, and she was the only other female that I ever saw. And aside from, PR and people who are working with the team, but as far as on air talent, I mean, that was it. And then here we are so many years later. And I was like, there's no one place where women who want to get their start in sports, who want to hear the stories of those who are working, big names like you, Jessica. I mean, you are at the top of our list, our wish list to have on the show, because you're doing it every single day. And that's literally why we wanted to create this library of interviews with women, so that the younger generation, the ones who are coming up, can have something to reference to get into it. And I know that you're involved in a charity that's all about women in sports. Can you speak to that?
Well, I mean, the Women's Sports Foundation I've been a part of forever, and that's Billie Jean King's foundation that she started. And of course, in very typical Billie Jean King fashion, and it's not called the Billie Jean King Foundation. It's the Women's Sports Foundation that she started right after Title IX was implemented in the 70s. And to really just have a place, a charity, yes, but also just a voice for all women involved in sports. And that includes like young girls that don't even have the opportunities yet. I mean, think about it. The year after Title IX was enacted, there was the enforcement of Title IX that we're still trying to battle and implement and get out there as far as equality in public schools for girls and boys to have access to sports and facilities and equipment and shoot, even like a field to play on. So whether it be legislation, whether it be just professional, like, women that are trying to get, sponsored and get help, being an Olympic athlete or at a professional level, it kind of covers the whole gamut of girls and women in sports. And to be honest, Billie Jean King is a mentor of mine and someone that is continuously paying it forward every day of her life. And so to be a part of that foundation, I'm just always looking for ways to help, to lend my voice or opinion, or I've been to Washington, D.C. and met with senators and just like trying to push to make change and continue this momentum that we've really had the last 5-6 years of women really getting, like, we get it now. People are understanding. We always got it. Let's be real. Everyone else getting, oh wait, like powerful women, like this is getting a huge response. People want to see this. They want to see more female athletes. And whether it's Me Too movements or it's literally just seeing strong, badass women take center stage and get a huge response, we're seeing that this is something that we need to continue and push moving forward.
That is amazing. When you talk about, going to Congress and talking about legislation, I mean, that is real change, right? And that's tangible, and that's something that we know is for real changing women in sports and the way that we talk about women in sports. So that's amazing. Continued success on that. And speaking of Billie Jean King, I mean, of all of the athletes that you've played with, played against, cheered for, or covered, who are you most impressed by, or who are you in awe of?
Wow. Gosh, there's a ton. I mean, there's so many different women. I mean, I love, to be honest, that Serena Williams has set a body image standard and a confidence standard. I mean, she is a superstar and has been at the top of her game, but she's also recreated what I know when I was growing up, I was embarrassed of my muscles, people would always make fun of like the way that I looked or how strong I was. So to see that strength just possessing in whether it's dominance on the tennis court, whether it's with her words and her confidence and just overall, like, just, this is who I am, hear me roar. I love it. Because it was something that I didn't have to look to growing up. When I saw women on television, it was, a certain body type all the time. And I didn't see my body there. And so I give so much credit to, all of the female athletes that we're seeing now, and the fact that they're getting more and more confident with just being themselves. And, I look, at, just even this last Olympic Games and just, with mental health and, just being so much more vocal. I mean, even Naomi Osaka, as of recent, coming out and saying, I'm not going to play tennis until I feel more comfortable. So not just like the physical confidence of like, look at this body, I'm strong and I'm powerful, but also the strength it takes to say, I can't do this right now because I'm not mentally in a good place. And I think that's just as strong as anything you'll see from any kind of female, especially female athletes.
Oh, absolutely. And to that end, what advice would you give to a young girl who's watching this right now, who someday wants to sit where you are?
I think the biggest thing is standing out and how you look at what that means. So a lot of times, like, oh yeah, I want to stand out and that I want to be great. I want to be different. I want to be successful. But to stand out, you have to accept your differences. You have to look at what sets you apart from everyone else. And I think societally, social media wise, we get caught up in looking and acting and kind of fitting into this mold still forever. It's been this way, but even I think with social media, it still pushes along this narrative that you need to act a certain way. You got to wear this certain look. You got to flaunt some specific things when you're posting versus actually what's going to set you apart, what makes you unique. And there's gonna be times where you're in a room and you're gonna say something and it's like there's crickets because what you just said was way different and maybe controversial or maybe against the grain. Well, that's you and that's your voice. And there's a reason you're in this room amongst people, is not to be the agreeable, yes, anything you say, but actually the person that has an opinion, and a strong one, on your values, on what you believe, and honestly, an understanding of your strengths. Like, this is what I'm good at, and I'm going to own this and not try to just blend in with everybody else.
That's great advice. Great advice. I hope everyone is taking notes, jotting down the things, because it's so important to know, especially that silence in the room when you say something and people are kind of like, huh, maybe, like, it don't feel bad. It's not what you said. It's them. They need to get on the same page with you. But one of the things that we always like to do here at the Locker Room, some quick fire questions, and I'll start. Do you have a favorite baseball moment?
As calling, whether it's calling or watching as a fan, they're very different.
Ooh. Do both.
Do both. Watching as a fan would definitely be, the Dodgers. I grew up, growing up in LA and watching, them win, the World Series, the Kirk Gibson, fist pump that we all see, Oral Hershiser, the highlights of that, seeing Fernando Valenzuela as a young Hispanic girl. Those were my moments, I would say, as a fan, was being at Dodger Stadium and seeing the outpouring of Mexicans within the stadium to support Fernando Mania. And then ultimately within those 80s, that decade, seeing, the World Series championship that culminated in that decade. But as an announcer, definitely when Jake Arrieta threw a no-hitter, ironically against the Dodgers, my very first Sunday night baseball game, I was filling in, had just done my first Major League Baseball game 5 days prior, and then because of circumstances got asked to fill in on Sunday Night Baseball back in 2015, Cubs-Dodgers, and Jake Arrieta ended up throwing the first and only no-hitter in the history of Sunday Night Baseball, 30 years. So you imagine how many games that was. And here I am, my very first time in the seat, and here's this like epic historic game. But it was really cool to be a part of just Sunday Night Baseball, but then let alone have it be a no-hitter as my first. It was kind of just this, like, almost everything was meant to like be in this moment. And it was pretty awesome.
That's when you just feel the magic of baseball. Those moments you're like, this is a clandestine sport. Did you have a quince? Speaking of all the Mexican fans in LA.
No, I didn't. It's like one thing I get on my parents all the time, because hello, like an opportunity to, like, one more party, one more celebration. I think my mom wasn't super religious, and my dad was, but I think there probably was a battle with that. I've attended so many of them, and I wish, are you kidding me? Like, especially, I don't know how it's been in your family, but where I've seen it grow to, though, like, it's like traveling all over, you get these like gifts that are absolutely ridiculous, DJs. It's like a wedding, and I'm like, seriously, how did I miss out on that?
Well, if it's any consolation, I have a really good friend who never had one. She turned 40 last year, so she threw herself a quince, and she had the most amazing dress, mariachi band, and the whole thing.
So there's never too late. Idea. I think this needs to happen. Absolutely needs to happen. Or I'll throw it for like my son and like just totally screw everyone up and be like, it's really just a big party.
Hey, whatever, it's never too late to just have fun and celebrate life, right?
I'll be the one that's all dressed up and welcoming myself into womanhood at age 40.
Who do you credit with having the most impact on your life?
Dang, deep questions. My parents, without a doubt, and just my father, for sure, being the coach and like the very stern, was really hard on me. He was a coach, baseball and football. So just growing up as a coach's daughter, you just like, you're very structured, very like, you had to lift weights before you could eat dinner. You had practice scheduled all the time, video, we were always watching video, rewinding, like he would videotape everything we did, softball wise, and we'd rewatch it. I know it sounds crazy, but I credit him because there was a passion instilled of hard work and like, if you want to be good at this, girl, like this is how you do it. And we're going to hit on all the, I had a coach for a dad. So of course he knew everything that you needed to do to get to that level. And then my mom kind of balancing that with the academics and the social. I credit both of them for allowing me to be well-rounded, because the student athlete to me was really important. Going to Stanford was really important. And my mom was all of the other side, like just, hey, you better get your schoolwork done. She would battle my dad. Like, she's not going to hit, she's not going to do this until she finishes her work. We're going to push her academically and see what she's got. And just have an understanding too of like, being a real person, like being able to go out and like have fun with my friends still. And we'd still go on some vacations, just even if I missed a tournament or two, and my coach would get mad because my mom was pushing like she needs to be a kid too. So having that balance and that perspective, which I think is hard as parents to do, they really killed it as far as like pushing me a lot, but allowing me to be myself at the same time.
Did you ever want to quit?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Especially, you get on the wrong team. I think when you're young, like when I was 13, 14, I was playing up. So I was playing with 17 and 18-year-olds, and it's a huge dramatic difference. I think any young girl, any woman can remember the difference of like 13 and 17, 18. And I think the reason I loved softball so much was obviously the sport, but also your sisters, right? These are the women you're out on the field with, and they just were on another level, whether it was the stuff they were talking about, boys, like things that just I wasn't ready for. And then also just their level of, what they were into. I had no relatability. And I found myself not loving the game at all. And I didn't want to go to practice. I didn't want to go to games. And as much as I love softball, I realized how important it was to that camaraderie, the team, feeling like you're a part of something. You don't have to all be best friends, but to have some relatability with everyone you're on the field with is huge. So I didn't want to play anymore. And my parents recognized kind of the reason. So we switched to an age group that was more my age. And you get caught up in that. Like you want to play up because it's all the, you can because you're good enough. But at the same time, it's like, what are we doing if we're not having fun?
If you had to invite anyone, dead or alive, into your locker room, who would it be, and what would be the first question you'd ask?
Jeez. Wow. Oh. Into my locker room. Does that mean they have to be an athlete?
No.
Oh, man. Maybe like an Eleanor Roosevelt, Babe Didrikson. Babe to me was like the first real female athlete that was just way ahead of her time. You have to Google her, like 1920s and 30s. She was an Olympian. She was a professional golfer. She was playing with the men. She was doing everything and killed it in every single sport. And people just did not know what to do with her besides make rules against like, oh, apparently we need to put rules in place of women like playing on a golf course and women doing all these things because we didn't expect one to show up and beat all of us. So I'd love to talk to Babe Didrikson about what it was like to be one of the first before it was ever cool, and decades, honestly, a half century ahead of women playing sports. And here she was doing her thing, short hair, just being who she was, way ahead of anyone else. And then just the historical, I guess, Eleanor Roosevelt. I'm obsessed with history and strong women in it. And I feel like Eleanor was just ahead of her time as well, speaking her mind and a passion for changing the world and what she could do through not only her husband, but also even within the people that she was around.
She would rather light a candle than curse the darkness. One of my favorite quotes from her.
Boom! Look at you on you, Julie. I love it.
Last question for you. When all is said and done, how would you like to be remembered?
I think just being like true to who I am. I think what I try to do is, as much as you can look at accolades, like certain awards or medals or, sorry, I'm pointing to things you guys can't see, like jerseys of things, the Olympics, stuff like that. I think in all of this, and you guys understand this, you get pulled and, pressured in a lot of different directions. And if you can really stay true to the person you are, to the family that you have, whether it's like, your small group, your huge group, whether it could be, friends, people you've just met, and be as authentic as possible. That's my biggest thing is like, I'm a goofy, quirky person. I'm silly. I say the wrong thing. I'm totally messy most days. I show up to this with my workout clothes on because I didn't even know if it was video or audio. But this is me. Like, this is who I am. I'm not embarrassed of it. And I think, like, if you're going to remember it in any way, it's just to be authentic to the person that you are, and for others to understand they should be also. And that's when it gets really, really fun.
Authenticity is the most important thing. That and empathy are like two qualities, I think, in any human being. Actually, before we let you go, I have to ask you this, because we were just talking to Joy Taylor, and we talked about, the trolls on social media and everything. And I think you, because you were the first, I read a lot of it, all of the nasty things that people can say, and feel like they have the right to say it. How did you at the beginning navigate that? Did you even pay attention to any of it? But I'm interested to know.
Yeah, I had to change my relationship with social media. I've always enjoyed people. I still do. And my relationship with social media, like, I loved it. And even when I was doing softball, you'd get like the naysayer. I mean, you're always going to get criticism, right? No matter what you say or do, people are going to say something that's, especially on Twitter, like, just you suck or whatever. But with baseball, it was just so, I don't know, deeper. There was like a level of like, how, like, some real thought into like, how can I really hurt her? And whether it was threats or, just coming at your family, like just another level. And so I had to learn, okay, like, and at first I was like, I would tell my husband, I want to reach out to these people and just like talk to them, be like, what happened in your life to where you hate me so much for being a woman in baseball? Like, you don't even hate me because I, pick the Dodgers over the Braves and the NLCS, like, like things that you can understand maybe in fandom, but like literally because I'm a woman in what you feel is just a male only space. Like, what has happened over the course of your life where you could have this much hatred? And of course my husband's like, I don't think we should reach out to these people. It's probably a bad idea. So I learned quickly, okay, like, especially after Sunday Night Baseball, I just would not check Twitter for a couple days. And there were always strong reactions in the beginning. And some of that was positive. I mean, there were people that were also overboard, like, you're the best thing that ever happened. This is amazing, So like, that wasn't true. And then there's people that are just like, you should go die because you're, calling. So it was like these extreme reactions right after the game. No one was like in the middle. Everyone was feeling one way or the other. So I just learned, give it a couple days and then, come back on there, because I didn't want to cut that off completely. I like to interact with people. But I just learned that the overreactive one way or another was too much for me. And it was starting to really affect me, which I didn't think it would. I thought I'd be able to just roll it off. But when you read and hear things, especially negative, at least for me, and I feel like a lot of people are like this, you tend to focus so much more on that than the positive. Then there could be a million people saying, oh my gosh, Jennifer, like, love what you guys are doing. Love Vida basically, it's amazing. Thank you. You're reading it, you're understanding it. But the one person, it's like, I hated your hair today. It could be the stupidest thing, or like, why did you say? And you'll fixate on that. And it's amazing how we let that get to us when it really shouldn't. We should understand, how I keep saying, like, know who you are and know your own faults and strengths, and listen to the people that matter. Sometimes your bosses, your own board of trustees that you have, and let the people out there, the eggheads, just be eggheads.
Yeah. And I mean, what you said is so true, though. With you, it was different. It just, like you said, it was a deeper level of hate. And so those kinds of comments, it's hard to not take it personal, because it's not like, oh, you're ugly, or I don't like how your voice sounds. I mean, it was like how you said, like, death threats and just a number of things. Like I would be that person too, as far as like, I want to reach out to them, because like, I'm such an empath, and I'm like, I want to know what happened to you, like,
Yeah.
like, sit down and do psychology behind it.
It's so true. No, like just find out, like just talk to people and be like, hey, we're all human here.
Right.
Like maybe I can help you understand like how to like women again. I don't know.
I know. My favorite response to that, and sometimes I get it if I comment on like another Instagram account. If I make a comment about baseball, it's everything from like, what are you talking about? You don't know about baseball. I'm like, first of all, I've seen more games up close than you will ever see. But I just want to write back to them and be like, I'm sorry things are so hard for you right now. I hope they get better for you. The end.
This is about me. This is about you. And one day I hope that you find peace inside yourself to where you're not hating on random strangers.
Yeah.
Literally. Jessica Mendoza, you are so fabulous. Where can people find you?
Well, speaking of Twitter, as long as it's right now, not right after games, I don't check. But yeah, I'm at Jess Mendoza on Twitter and at Jess Mendoza 2 on Instagram. A lot of more photos of my family and stuff on Instagram, but those are the two best places. And honestly, follow me on ESPN in this long ride that we've got left. I say long because postseason is going to be here, and it's an amazing time. And I'm gone every day of October following teams until we complete the World Series.
Who do you got in the postseason?
For someone that covers the game, it changes every day. And if I had to pick today, I would put the Dodgers in the World Series from the NL. And the AL, it's, God, you want to pick the White Sox, but I'm going to go a little Trump action and like shocker action, to clarify that. And go Sorry, I realize that word now means so much different. Redefining Trump as like something that's overtaking. Because I think the White Sox is an easy default, or people would pick the Yankees and Red Sox, or Yankees or Rays. But I like the Astros because not because I like the organization, but because I like the fact that they have a chip on their shoulder, and a lot of people hate them, and I think they're using that as fuel. Plus, they're really good. So how about an Astros Dodgers rematch from going back to the big cheating year, and now they get to bring that back. Yeah, so
MLB would love it. Yep. I mean, the ratings, everything. Jessica, thank you so much for sitting here and indulging us and taking some of your time to sit here with us and let us fangirl a little bit as well.
No, we need to kick it in person, though. Are you guys going to be on site for anything? We could do one of these in person?
Oh, yes. I mean, whenever.
Yes, just tell us when we'll be there.
Yeah.
Just at the World Series. Can we do that?
Yes. Wherever the World Series is, we will find you.
Okay.
Know that.
We'll come knock on your door. We'll be like, hey, Julia.
Oh, yeah. It'll be like a pajama podcast. It's not a podcast. Sorry. I keep calling it a podcast. We'll just pajama it. And we'll be like just hanging out, some girls kicking it, grab some coffee.
That would be amazing. That'd be amazing. You are wonderful. Thank you so much for blessing us with your time and your energy here. And thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Locker Room Talk. I'm Julie Alexandria with Jennifer Mercedes and Jessica Mendoza. We'll see you next time.
We're very bullish on women's sports. What the does that mean? I'm sorry. Give me more female voices. Their perspective will be different.